Bottom line, what's killing all of us is childhood trauma. That's it. Now, I know that's tough to hear, and we don't want to admit that. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to hide anymore. We need to bring this out of the closet and get this to be common knowledge and commonly accepted that our parents were perfectly imperfect. They adored us, but since we don't teach anything about this, they made a ton of mistakes that had long-lasting impacts on us, okay? And that's just an undeniable truth. We don't teach how to be a parent. So even if we did, they're human. They're gonna hurt us, and we have to start facing that and dealing with that. The secret is you have to deal with the source. You have to go back and heal that trauma. That's where all of, I just read it to you, and it's all over this report. We are sick and hurt and broken and struggle in our lives because of childhood trauma. This comes from the Adverse Childhood Experience study. It's the landmark study that was done in the early 2000s by Kaiser. It's been repeated multiple times, and it is the most comprehensive study on childhood experiences and how they impact us. But even the study is limited. A lot of the questions, they're only about severe abuse, not even, typical garden variety abuse. And here's the basic questions they asked, okay? So they asked, did you see or suffer any type of physical abuse in your home? Now that can be spanking, slapping, pushing a kid, slapping his hand away, things like that. That's either happened to you or somebody in your family or your parents exhibited it, or grandparents, or anywhere in your family environment. Did you see physical abuse? Was there sexual abuse, whether covert or overt? Overt is where there was direct sexual abuse. Covert is things like my mom. She'd walk around in negligees. Finding my mom passed out naked when she was drunk. That's sexual abuse. That's covert. It's not direct. Did your parents walk around naked? Things like that. That's sexual abuse. Now, they didn't get into those layers, but if you saw any of that, the study stayed more basic. Emotional abuse, that can be abandonment, that can be, single parent household, anyone yelling and screaming at you. If you have any sense of shame, if you make a mistake in your life at any point and you feel a deep sense of low worth, or you say, God, I'm so stupid, something like that, you suffered emotional abuse growing up. Physical neglect, were your parents too busy to be there? Did they not hug you, say they loved you, things like that. Emotional neglect, that's, you had a parent who was an addict, a single parent household, that's all emotional neglect. You weren't completely nurtured. Was there an exposure to domestic violence? And this is one of the things that upset me about the study, is they asked only if you saw a man hit a woman, whether it was a wife, grandparents, any of that. Well, studies now show that women are more abusive than men. They were always more verbally abusive, but now they're becoming more physically abusive, and actually even more aggressive. Like, the types of physical abuse is much worse than men. So that wasn't even included in the study. So when you hear the conclusions of this, these numbers are way underreported. So did you see any type of domestic violence? Was there any type of substance abuse? Cigarettes, tobacco, alcohol, drugs, pot, pills, anyone sick or hurt a lot, anyone using substances, anyone mental illness. Did anyone have to see a counselor? Was there depression? They were on medication, bipolar, anything like that? Was there any type of that? Did your parents ever get separated or divorced? Well, that's over 50% of the population. Was anyone incarcerated or have any issues with the law? Well, when they did this study back in the early 2000s, they found that 67% of the population had suffered at least one adverse childhood experience. All right, and like I said, these were limited questions. If they asked these questions incomplete, that number would be well above 90%. But they asked bare bones questions. So what that means is, if you had at least one of those experiences, 87% had two or more. Well, the consequence of suffering those adverse childhood experiences has a direct correlation. Remember I said how the hippocampus, it stores our trauma in our body physically. Well, that skyrockets. Your people who then end up suffering with high risk behaviors like smoking, alcohol and drug abuse, promiscuity, obesity, all health issues, including anxiety, stress, depression, heart disease, cancer, chronic lung disease, shortened lifespan. The bottom line, what's killing all of us is childhood trauma.